The people we're talking to in this show, Andrew, are retired athletes that wake up after having an identity of one thing their whole career, looking to find their next.
Yeah.
Business leaders that have been one thing their whole life or partially their whole life and then trying to find next. You I don't want to say fell into, but you fell into the vacation rental industry, did you not? You really
Yeah,
did.
I did. This identity thing, it's real, right? Like in high school, early college, I was on the US national team, right? Like my identity, I was an athlete. That is what I was. And then I got injured into my freshman year and it blew up that identity. Like I still competed, but I wasn't at the same level.
Yes, of course.
I wasn't just a swimmer. I was like a swimmer at this level. That's my identity. If I'm not that, then who am I? What am I? And I just fell in. I was in school.
At Harvard, if I can, and an Ivy League school, like you're going to Harvard, like that in itself, Andrew, I'll call it out. Like that in itself is something that when you're talking, I'm a Harvard graduate, that's important. Let's face it. In society today, it's in Western society, there's a lot of value placed on that. So you're a successful swimmer, you go to Harvard, the title gets bigger, doesn't it? The identity gets bigger, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gets bigger. It also flipped, right? Because I saw myself as a swimmer first. That was my identity. In questioning what my identity was, I was lucky my sophomore year because I was in school. I was at Harvard. Okay, great. My identity is I'm a student. I'm a serious student. I'm going to be great at this. And so the timing was good because it allowed me to get into law school, right? And so I'm a student. I'm a serious student.
Yes.
Competing, go to the UK, do that. But then I graduate. And okay, so it's my first job. I'm a consultant. Right. We have the uniforms. It's the blue shirts. It's the dark slacks. You have your Toomey bag. You fly out on Monday. You fly back on Thursday. Like this is my identity. And so I kept going through my identity is this box.
Yeah.
And then starting a company. My identity was I'm a CEO. I'm this, I'm that. And it took me till my late 30s to really say, wait, these are things I do. And probably writing the book helped it because people say, hey, what do you do? I'm like, well, I guess I do a few things. Like I write, I speak, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I run this company. And so I'm not any one thing. I'm getting rid of the labels. I'm me and I do a bunch of things and I can change those things that I do to align with my values and what I want to achieve at any given window of time. And so I guess all that to say, I can 100% empathize and relate to you getting to that end and it blows up your identity. And so you can use that. And look, I went through depression and everything like when that first happened, but you can also use it as this burning platform launching pad to reframe that identity and make it something bigger and more inspiring to you for a longer term.
And it's clear to me that the obvious tip you gave, as obvious as it is, Andrew, is that set the bar low to get started, isn't it? Like get out of your head. Because clearly that's a challenge that I have in my own world is getting out of my own head, frankly. So to hear you say I had to get out of my own head, I had to lower the bar, get the Google spreadsheet going, get the phone going and say, we got a business. Boom. Right. That's it.
Yeah. It's inertia is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. And it can work for you or against you. So inertia, when you're still, very hard to get up off that couch, very hard to get moving. But if you just get that little nudge and you start moving, that inertia is 100% your friend. Then you're moving, then you're going. So whatever the littlest nudge you can have just to get that ball starting to roll, it's going to keep going.
Andrew, we've had some athletes come through the lab in the last number of weeks and some business leaders that have spoke about their challenges of dealing with their own depression as they go through transition.
Yeah.
You mentioned it a few moments ago yourself. Would you mind touching upon that experience for you and how you handled that inertia, the depression, and finding yourself to next?
Yeah, I wish it was singular. It happened at least two probably more serious times. So one was that time in college when I went from competing at this level to not anymore and just got really down in the part. Like I had probably seasonal affect disorder as well because I'm in Boston, but I've grown up in Florida in the South. And so like the cold, the dark, I'm not feeling the same. And I think for me, what made a huge difference in my life was the social connection, right? Being on a team that had my back. They would call me out, get out of this, but then also they could read the closest people on the team, my roommates could read, hey, he doesn't need a kick in the butt right now. He needs an arm around the shoulder. And it didn't happen overnight, but almost being forced into a communal environment, right? We had roommates, our beds, we had 3 beds in one room. I was constantly around people who were still my best friends. We had practice 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. I was every meal we ate together. It kicked me out of that, right?
Mm.
There's another time is I was going through the same identity crisis, going through consulting. Man, I'm really not enjoying this anymore. Every Sunday night, I can't fall asleep because I am so dreading
Anxious,
getting on
right?
that plane the next day and what this week is going to look like. And I don't see a way out. I don't see anything else I can do, which is crazy in retrospect. Like, this must be the entire universe of this is the only thing I can do. And we're like, no, actually, you could do a billion things. This is the thing you're doing now. You could go reframe it, but it was almost the paradox of choice. There were so many things I didn't know the thing. And that one was, it was more prolonged. That may have been a year plus because I didn't have that same community. I was in team environments, team work environments,
Mhm.
but in consulting, it was constantly changing. And you'd go to the client, you'd have a new team you're working with. And so it didn't have that depth of social connection. And because I was traveling all the time, I wasn't building that social connection at home either. And so it just took much longer. And I think a big part of it was some of those deeper relationships that I had, my wife seeing it and saying, you have to get out of here, right? Really pushing me on that. People that I had built close relationships with that had gone on, reaching out and saying, hey, you need to get out of there. Here's some great opportunities. Could you come work with us? And so again, I bring it so much back to the people and the connections, building in the best of times, because those are the ones that are going to be there for you in the worst of times too. And hopefully you can be there for them.